Welcome to another episode of Business Bros. What up, ladies and gentlemen? Hernanci is here, host of the Business Bros podcast, where we're helping you take control of your branding, your marketing, so that you can create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow. And today, we got a special program for you guys today. Asset protection for real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Look, we're going through some troubling times here in the near future, and you want to make sure you have CYA cover your assets. Leafy Legal Services is here with Jennifer Gligoric to tell us a little bit about how we can cover our assets.
I know.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel like really bad because this is the time I shine is crisis. I was a crisis intervention specialist for 25 years. And then I became a real estate investor. And about a decade ago, I started scaling businesses just remotely, global businesses. The biggest scale up I did was taking a company from 3 people to 221 people in 21 countries in 18 months.
Wow.
And so this is this is my jam. Asset protection, covering yourself, all the things people don't want to talk about, your estate plan, get a will, don't be like the people flailing now. I'm ready.
Well, this is yeah, you're exactly right. Like everybody talks about, you got to be ready just in case is here. Like this is it. Like if you were around in 2008 when things went bad, I mean, that was one thing. This is going to be very similar to that. Plus, you're shutting everything down. So even in 2008, things went bad, but things didn't close up, right? We didn't close up shop. We didn't close up, people lost their jobs, but it was related to a specific financial sector. This has cascading effects across all kinds of different things.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The president goes on TV and he says, we just haven't seen anything like that. People are like, when is this going to happen? You're like, okay, he's the president. He's not a psychic. No one has ever seen anything like this. They haven't seen every single state shut down. Now they're trying to shut down travel specifically from Louisiana to all the states around Louisiana are like, no, keep your people because they're having a bad breakout of COVID. Then New York, all the snowbirds are coming down to Florida. So now Florida Twitter is all, stay away. We hate you, all this. Don't come down here, go, whatever. And then the Hamptons, people in the Hamptons are furious right now because the New Yorkers are freeing New York to go to the Hamptons and they're all mad. So it's like, you've not seen this, but it's not just us. It's like all the other countries, right?
Yeah. So
the thing is it's better if you had these things in place, but don't wait until what happens. So what we're seeing is people are going to panic. The SBA, first thing I did is go fill out the paperwork on the SBA website because I knew it was going to come down the pipe. We're a small business. There's millions of small businesses and you want to get your paper in sooner rather than later, right?
Mm-hmm.
The SBA has redone their website 3 times in the last week and a half. So I did the application 3 times. The first time it took me 3 days to get to page 3. Then they took the whole website down and it was completely different. And then you had to download, sign, and upload the paperwork. But you didn't get a confirmation. And when I emailed them, I just got back, we're experiencing a high volume of emails right now. Look at our website.
At least you got to page 3. I've been trying to fill it out for, I don't know how many days.
Today,
and it won't load.
Redone. They fixed it. They changed it completely over the weekend. And now it's online again. And I filled it out this morning again.
Well, good. And I'm going to have to do that today. Yeah.
You have to get that done today because there will be money, but how long is the money going to take, et cetera. So what we do normally is we help 98% of our clients are real estate investors. The other 2% are entrepreneurs. But what we do is we hide assets and we protect people by using the right structure for investors in order to scale and grow their company. And we do entrepreneurs too, but it's usually people who have assets. Real estate investors are people who have multiple properties or multiple LLCs are low-hanging fruit when it comes to lawsuits. And it's because our lien process in America is broken. It is ridiculously easy to put a lien against something, and that's not going to change. Most people won't even know they have a lien against their property until they go to close. And there are people who game that system. They will literally put liens on things, hoping that you'll be so wanting to close the property, you'll just pay off. It's a gamble for them. And just
it doesn't hurt them. Let's slow down here a little bit. Let's break some stuff up here.
Yeah.
You said something that was kind of made my ears perk up a little bit. You hide assets. Now that
Right.
sounds pretty gangster right there. Explain
Yeah,
to me a
well, it
little bit
does.
about how we how you actually go about doing that and how it's actually legal, just doing it the right way.
Okay. Well, a lot of people will have watched that movie Laundromat with Meryl Streep in it. You know, they have all these famous actors in there, and they talked about hiding assets and using shell companies. Well, that's illegal now. I mean, they busted all those people, and now they have a lot of rules in place. And you, historically, you could hide assets in offshore trusts. You could hide money. I mean, I'm going to just kind of tell you, it's not gangster anymore. The United States of America is so powerful that any penny you put into any instrument in any country around the world, they're going to know about. Whether or not they can get that money immediately, not depends on the power of that structure. Cook Islands is one. There is a famous case, and I forget the name of the couple. The man died. He was a criminal. His widow went and lived in the Cook Islands, had her trust in the Cook Islands, had all these things in the Cook Islands as a trustee. Well, the government is still trying to get that money, and the trustee goes, it's not in the best interest of the trust. But eventually, once she passes, hopefully, you know, I don't know how complicit she is. If she's a criminal too, you know, I'm not, just legally, eventually they'll get the money. So if you're doing shady stuff, this isn't for you. We can't really help you. You can't hide things from a spouse. You can't really hide things anymore. What you can do is make them anonymous to protect yourself. One way we do it is through anonymous LLCs, and we can do one in any single state. And what that means is if you're doing business, you really don't want your name on the business because even though the LLC in itself is a layer of protection, there are many people in the country that are victims of crime, or they're in businesses that are very litigious. Criminals target them. And so they have to protect themselves. So there has to be some legal vehicle for them to not have to worry that someone's going to look up their information on a state website and come and kill them or rob them, or the boyfriend they have a protection order against that has said, I'm going to kill you, is going to come and do that. So they allow for an anonymous LLC. It's with an agent trust. Only specific places can do it. We're one of them. And what it does is when you pull up the business, it lists an agent trust. It doesn't have your name, address. You're not listed anywhere. As far as the public goes, they have no idea that you own it. You can
So
just be the designated agent for that.
is this kind of like a disregarded entity in sense
No,
where it's just a third party that's handling the
no.
paperwork to your LLC?
No, there's an agent trust. There's a special document called an agent trust, which is a private document. It's not filed with the state, only the name is. You would have to subpoena that information with cause and find out the details of that trust. And most trusts you're not able to break open. You'd have to spend a lot of time, money, and effort to be able to do that and have just cause. So the trust would basically say that the trustee, you know, would be the person, and it's your business. You have all the rights to it, and you'd run it however you want, but you're using this for anonymity purposes. So the bank would know it's you because you have to provide all this information to them, because most banks will say, no, we cannot open up a bank account for you unless we can go to the Secretary of State and prove that you are on that website, with the exception of this, because then you have the trust documents to show them. So the bank knows it's you. The IRS knows it's you because your Social Security number is tied to the EIN. The only difference is that you would have to subpoena the IRS. You would have to subpoena the bank. You'd have to spend time, money, and effort. And if they don't know 100% it's you, they're not going to spend that time and money. You just want to make it as difficult as possible for someone who is just looking to make money and be vexatious to be able to sue you. You want to make it hard.
Extra layer that you're talking about. An extra layer.
Basically, I tell people all the time, and when I draw it out from them, it's like an onion. We want how you do business over here. We want where you hold your assets over here. And we want to provide all these onion layers of protection around it. Now, does that mean if you sell a meth house to someone and you know the chemicals are going to leach in and kill them, that you get to get off scot-free? No, again, if you're shady, if you're doing bad things, then that person will get an attorney who will spend the time, money, and effort to do it. So don't do bad things. But for the average person who is just wanting to avoid what we're seeing right now in the courts, our courts are overburdened by people wanting to game the system. And it is getting worse. And this is going to make it a lot worse. Quarantine, millions out of work, people panicking. Well, you're going to see car wrecks and everyone's going to have a bad back and stuff like that.
Anything to grab money. You're
anything.
right.
And you're going to think to yourself, oh, well, I've got insurance. I got Geico, I got Progressive, Flow, right? This is all great. Well,
except you didn't read your coverages, your liability coverages.
Your coverage does have limits to it. They're not going to, if all of a sudden you're a real estate investor or you own several houses and that attorney is able to look it up very easily through any system, is your name on any LLCs? Is your name on any property? How many, mortgages, which is all public record, then you're more attractive because they can put liens against these properties. Mm-hmm. So then your insurance company will say, okay, look, they want to go to court. However, because of these liens and because of your situation, your limit ends here and you're going to have to pay out of pocket 10 grand. Now we can settle. In fact, they want to settle, right? And we could settle for 5 grand. So you end up paying 5 grand for nothing, only it's never just 5 grand.
That's just a start. Yeah.
Yeah. It's usually exponentially more.
Now you got not including legal fees and.
Because your insurance may or may not pay for that, but they're going to cap it if you have a lot of assets because that's a lot more work for them, right? And that's not going to be built into your coverage. You see, attorney to sue you. Let's say you do get into a fender bender, right? And the person has no insurance. The first thing they're going to do is like, oh my God, I can't pay this. I'm going to go to an attorney because I am hurt. And maybe it wasn't my fault. Maybe it was their fault because, things get muddled in people's mind. I'm not even saying they're bad people, right? And then they go and the attorney's going to be like, okay, the law is there. Maybe we can look at this. I can see how maybe this could have been looked at from different angles, a different way. The facts, well, that one lady had glasses and it was a foggy day. They can massage that. But recovery, will I be able to pay enough for my fees and make this worth it? If you they can get a judgment against you, but if there's nothing they can attach that judgment to, it is worthless. It's just a piece of paper. So that attorney is going to want to see solid evidence that he will make his money back one way or the other.
It's funny. I've experienced something very similar, and it happens the moment you have that INC at the end of your name, or you have a large general liability policy, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You become a target.
Yeah, you do. You do become a target. In fact, we use Statista to help pull information from courtstatistics.org, the National Survey of Courts, and it shows that 1 in 4 Americans has a chance of being sued. So 25% of us sometime in our lifetime will probably get a lawsuit. That's how it kind of rolls out. We're very lawsuit friendly here, right? However, if you're a real estate investor or you have CEO, president, founder after your name on business cards, your chance of getting sued once you start getting assets goes up to 95% in the next 20 years.
That's how you know you hit the big leagues.
That is what low-hanging fruit. Yeah, but it's sad because most real estate investors are making maybe $40 a month extra on a property, $100 here, whatever. They need as many doors as possible, and it's not high overhead. They're just trying to build a portfolio so they can get some cash flow in. And then a hurricane comes, or the new roof needs to be done, then they got to get rid of that property, or then they're going to go negative for a little bit. It's a business like anything else. So it's not like, oh, they have all this cash. No, they don't. If everyone's ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's, you have equity versus cash, and cash flow is king, and you're going to want to take time, effort, and many years to build it up. The only problem is one lawsuit can just knock all the wind out of your sails. So if you start out in the beginning by treating your business like a business, which I tell everyone from graphic designers to musicians to everyone, like if you're out there and you're talking and you want to book a gig, you're going to want to have at least a little LLC. You're a business too. You're a brand, right? So think about yourself like that. And when you do that, it's amazing how people start thinking about you like that too. You stop getting asked to create a free jingle or make a logo for free.
Well, because you're a business now, you're not a hobby, and that's right. one of the biggest difference. Because there's a lot of people who end up operating, like you said, as a sole proprietor, and it's because it's so easy to start. Like you just start making money, and that's it. You're in business, and they often get confused with going to the assessor's office and getting a DBA, and they get a DBA and they think they have something separate from themselves. Right. Can you tell me a little bit about, being a sole prop, having a DBA and an LLC, what the liability is in the difference?
Yeah, well, the difference is a liability is a separate entity. You have a separate EIN number. So you have a separate tax filing. And even though it's considered a pass-through entity, you have limited liability. When you're a sole proprietor, all the liability is you. You can be sued directly. In states that do not have good homestead protections, that means someone can take all the equity of your house. They can literally force you out of your own home that you live in, even if you homestead it. So it's just not a smart thing to do, not in this day and age. I can see back 100 years ago, maybe 50 years ago, it was a different world back then, but it's just not like that now, so you have to deal in reality and right now. And right now these are the things you need to do. You need to have an estate plan. You need to have, like, right now, there are people that are stuck on a cruise ship and the Panama Canal will not let the cruise ship through because they have confirmed cases. So other cruise ships have to come and give them food and leave them. And they've been stuck there for a month. Now, there's a lot of young people that go on cruises too. There are people that have businesses that go on cruises too. If you don't have a living trust with a pour over will, with an advanced healthcare directive, a medical power of attorney, and a durable power of attorney, and people that are able to work on your behalf, you know what you've done to your family? Now they're having to go and take conservatorship or guardianship over you, because they can't really reach you. It's not like you can have phone calls every single day out in the middle of nowhere and no service. And what's going to happen to rents that are supposed to be paid? Your mortgage, your bills. They have to try to get guardianship or conservatorship. Sometimes it could take, weeks, if not months, depending on how difficult a situation it is. And then you come back to a mess. Where have the kids been living? Or did they go to your brothers that you had done a will 10 years ago, and now you haven't spoken to the guy because y'all got into a big fight, and what you really wanted them to do is go to the neighbors because they're best friends, and the neighbors are your best friends, and your kids play together, and they go to the same school, and everything can stay the same, and you come back and they're with your brother and he don't want to talk to you anymore. He thinks the kid should live with him. Now you got some nightmare, right?
Well,
that
all
happens.
This setting yourself up with a trust, with all those different aspects of it sounds expensive. And if I'm just starting out as a barely getting started in business, how should I be prioritizing, getting my stuff situated?
Well, it's not as expensive as you think to get started with an anonymous LLC. We can even set up a will for like 150 right now. An entire estate plan we can do for little over $3,000. That's not much when you're talking about the difference between you being bankrupted completely if you're in a car wreck and your kids living somewhere that you don't want them to do, or losing parts of your business. That needs to be figured into your plan. Treat your business like a business. Get the right setups. For most people, under 10 grand would get you the setup that you would need to even do as many as 6 properties to completely hold them anonymously from yourself. It is not as expensive as you think it is. People get so afraid. I give a free consult for like an hour with people, and I send them a pre-questionnaire and we talk to them. And many times I hear from clients, I was just scared to get the cost. Yeah. Why? And they end up doing it thinking, well, this is a lot less than I thought, because you hear it. If you go to seminars and things like that, a lot of times you're listening to people like Than Merrill, who's amazing, right? Or you're listening to some incredible people on stage and they're talking about top level products. So you're hearing about it, and we service high net worth individuals that, have 5 million or above in net worth. And we're talking about products with those sorts of people, multiple businesses, very complicated, and they want to defer taxes for their lifetime and lifetime of their kids. $35,000 to $45,000, those are products for that. Well, those are the products people are hearing about all the time because they're so catchy. You can defer taxes for your whole life and your kid's life and blah, blah, blah. Then they hear the cost and they're like, oh my God, that's more than I'm making a year. Right?
Yeah. But
I can't afford that.
But that's like looking at fancy cars. That's like looking at Porsches and Lamborghinis and then realizing you need a car. Yeah. And realizing you need a car and you're like, well, I can't afford a car. Obviously I can't pay $100,000 for that vehicle, but there's other options.
Yeah, there's
That's what you're
other
saying.
options, and there's other options that are good and they're scalable that you can get into, and not everyone's the same. Someone who is, let's say, a graphic designer or a graphic artist, right? They're going to have a completely different business setup than someone who is buying notes or just doing distressed properties, right? And they're going to have a different setup than someone who's flipping, as opposed to someone who flips and buys and holds and has a more diverse portfolio. So you want to get it customized to you. You don't want anything cookie cutter. That's not going to work. So a lot of people will come to us having done them themselves, these cookie cutter things. And, they had a lawsuit. And of course, it didn't hold up in court. There's no thing for that. And then, you're sad, but at least, they're going to finally do it right. Thing is, we can't help you once you're already in litigation, because
Yep.
then
It's too late.
it's too late then. So you need to set it up now. So, and now is always better than later. I know this is boring. The people listen to this and they're just like, yeah,
No.
but I could go on a vacation. Well, not now.
Well, right now you're stuck in here. Might as well take advantage of that one.
Yeah, right now. No, you can't. Nobody can go anywhere. So you might as well just do it now.
And I'll give you that. Yeah, you're right. LLCs and living trust and long-term planning, none of it sounds enticing. None of it sounds fun. But here's the thing. It's, planning for long-term care never sounded like a good idea until you get to the age where you need long-term care. Having an entity structure sounds like a boring idea until the day you start to get sued. All these things don't sound like they're the funnest things in the world. You know what? I get up and run every day. It's not the funnest thing in the world. I don't like running, but I do it so I can maintain my health, right? These are preventative measures that you need to do for your business ahead of time. Otherwise, when you start getting ready to do things like scale, like you were talking about scaling, taking, 2 employees to 200 employees, just the possible litigation you can have from hiring and firing people alone is one of those things you need to worry about. Having, an HR department, having, developing a proper structure to facilitate that kind of scaling. Everybody talks about growing, but nobody wants to put the work in or the effort in to set themselves up for growth. That's like building a house on the sand, right? It's gonna crumble if you don't have the proper foundation.
Oh my God, I want to hug you right now. And I know we can't hug or touch anybody, but I would squeeze you, because for 25 years, I would walk into businesses that were literally everybody's on fire, right? And I would have to figure out why everybody's on fire. And the first thing that the owner would always say is, our sales sucks, our marketing sucks. We need all these brochures. I need a new website. I need this. We need more sales, right? So it's always sales, sales, sales. And I've got to tell you, not a single company I have ever turned around, it's been about sales. It was always HR. They were paying the people the wrong amount, putting the wrong people in the position, hiring the wrong people, managing them horribly. And you know what that problem is? It's the owner problem. And it's all because the owner decided to start with sales and marketing, and they ignored all the other stuff. I've walked into companies that were ready to tank because they just didn't do their compliance paperwork correctly in the very beginning. And now they got hit with so many fees, penalties, and interest, they didn't know which way to turn. And it tanked their morale. And there was a lot of problems because everybody started pointing fingers. That was your job. That was your job. No, it wasn't anybody's job. Y'all just decided it wasn't important for right now because y'all could make money.
Yeah.
Be honest.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
And or hiring family when they knew family's sketchy, everybody wants to hire family, but unless you have clear expectations and contracts and things that are written down and and I'm not talking about HR as far as HR clerks, I'm talking about strategic HR, the kind big companies have and they spend billions of dollars on because it makes them so much money. I'm talking the idea of getting top talent. There's top talent, $13 an hour people, right? You just got to find them.
Especially right now.
Yes. Now is the time to find some amazing people, and I, virtually I have found top talent because I always pick people that had to be home because of an illness. They survived an illness that would have killed them, or an accident, or they had to take care of someone. Maybe they had children and they just decided, I'm not going to sacrifice this career for them. I want to be home now for these kids, but I have an Ivy League degree. So am I just going to tank everything? No, I think I can maybe do both, even if it's part-time. So then you get somebody who's probably going to be the CEO of a major corporation one day, once the kids get older, and they can give you so much value, right? So there is this incredible American workforce out there. And I've hired from the Philippines. I have, worked with people in other countries, but I got to tell you, by and far, American workers, American virtual workers, if your client base is American, Do not outsource your workers. I've seen so many companies just flailing. Yeah, you're paying $3 an hour on Upwork, but that person they can't make money on $3 an hour in the Philippines. I know, because I have good Filipino workers that I pay 15 bucks an hour to. And you know what they're making? $15 to $18 an hour. They've got a Tim Hortons up the street, 2 Starbucks. I mean, I don't know what type of Philippines you're thinking about, but it's not the one that's there in the major cities where people are all speaking with a neutral English accent and they write fluently. They need to make that much. So if you're paying someone $3 an hour for Upwork, let me
You're
tell you what you're
getting
getting.
$3 an hour.
You're getting an agency of about 30 people. You're not going to work with one person. You may have one point of contact, but they're not actually doing your job. And when they get to it, they'll do it, and they'll steal templates. You have to worry about copyright issues. You have to worry about them stealing logos. The logo you get back is probably on 10 different websites. And I've had people get in trouble because they used an Upwork contractor or one of those agencies. It was just so cheap. They spent 4 or 5 weeks in revisions because they couldn't get it right, because that's not really what they wanted. And they kept on just sending them stuff, only to get something put up on their website that then they get a copyright violation from because the owner found it. Now, if they would have just paid someone $20 to $25 an hour, they would have done it right within the first week, and they would have probably spent like 5 hours doing it. And they would have someone who's a team member that's invested. Never go the cheap route. I get that there's all these 80s Gordon Gekko people walking out around right now, but you're going to lose. You're going to lose in the end. You never lose when you invest in top talent, ever.
100% agree. Plus, you treat them good, they treat you good. You have less turnover. You build
Yes.
together. I like the where you were talking about hiring some good talent just early on when they need the flexibility. You're there to provide them the flexibility. They become super loyal to you because you've helped them in a time where they needed it. Their situation called for a little bit different. You get awesome talent at a discounted rate, and as you grow, they grow with you.
Yeah, and then you pay them what they're worth. You know, don't cheap out and be these CEOs that we all freaking hate and want to kill right now, you know, eat the rich and all that. Don't be like that. Pay good people what they're worth. Value them. And if you do that, guess what? You're going to be prosperous and successful. No one really needs to have $80 trillion. You know, what do you really need? Everybody needs to sit and think about right now, what do I really need in order to be fulfilled? Not fearful that my lights will be turned off, and feel like I have a successful life. Shoot for those goals. Stop mentioning numbers. Well, I want to make $10 million a year. Well, why? What does that pay for? You know, when I used to coach people, I would say, now write that down. What kind of life do you actually want? I would like to take a cruise every 3 months. Well, probably, you know, cruising's taking a hit right now, but you know, I want to take a vacation, you know, with my family every 3 months. To me, that would be success. Other people took car, and I said, okay, figure out the money for that. I can guarantee you every single time I've done that and they've given me their wish list, as long as it was a realistic wish list, and pretty much they all are, because they're talking to me and I just kind of go, really, you need that? You're never going to be happy unless you get that. And then they scale back. It's always been less than $1 million a year.
Oh yeah, it's usually about 250 to 300,000. Yeah,
Right.
I know, because it's funny. My brother and I, well, he did the activity where he's like, I'm going to take $30,000 a month and I'm going to spend it. So every day he would have to spend that money and allocate it to something. And after a while, he's like, dude, I just run out of things. Like, I don't know what else to buy. Like it's too much money at some point. Like, you know, and that's kind of the thing that, you know, if you actively try and spend that money, like, just do it hypothetically.
Even if you invest it, because now you're making investments and you're seeing how the investments grow. But once they grow, what are you growing them for? What are you going to get out of those investments?
Exactly.
The majority of people can feel so happy. So pay your people what they're worth, and then their top talent, they're going to want to go and get their own business one day, you know, probably. But now you have a partner. You have someone who understands what you're doing that's now going to run a company. Because I got to tell you, that part-timer who's just looking for a job because, you know, his wife is the breadwinner right now and he's got 2 kids at home and he's trying to do the stay-at-home dad because she's making more money right now, but they wanted a parent home with their kids. That guy eventually is going to be someone you might need for a job. You never know what's going to happen in your life. I mean, we all want to be entrepreneurs forever, but you never know. And he'll
You just got to have an exit strategy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, always treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, and never feel afraid to fire someone who's done you wrong, and just tell them. Like, I know people that will fire good people and never even talk to them, because especially remote, they just shut them out of systems and they send them an email. Like,
Man, just be a good person, right? I
yeah,
mean,
that's
make the
like
call.
bad.
Make the call.
That's karma.
That's like
I'm gonna
breaking up
tell
via
you.
text. Yeah, that's not.
I know that karma is, when it comes back, you're
It'll
gonna
come back
get
to
it.
you. You need to have an exit strategy, whether it's with
You
an
do.
individual, whether it's with your business, and
Yes.
it needs to come up front. That's what contracts are for. That's what these
Right.
entity structures are for. All that same
Exactly.
thing. Have an exit strategy. Speaking of exit strategies, tell people how to get a hold of you if they want to work with you. They are listening to the show. They're like, you know what? I got properties. I got entities. I don't think I have my stuff squared away. How do I get a hold of you?
Well, you go to leafylegalservices.com. We have a free ebook on there. And then you can I'm doing a promotion right now where you get a free hour-long consult with me. Usually it doesn't take an hour. Sometimes it's only 30 minutes, depending on if you're starting out or not. But yeah, we help people who are, just starting out, getting the right entity in place, and we'll help you make things anonymous if that's what you need, and protect you so you can feel safe and sleep well at night and have the right things in place so you can really scale and grow without getting kicked later on down the line, which we all want to avoid.
By the way, ladies and gents, we only had 30 minutes, so we were talking asset protection for this one, but they do a lot more, helping you plan out and scale your business.
Mm-hmm.
So that 1 hour consultation, even if it's only 15, 20, 30 minutes, get an idea as to where you're at. It's always good to talk to somebody in an industry that you know nothing about. Don't claim to be an expert attorney. Don't claim to be anything than your particular skill, and then find out who knows stuff and get information from them. That's what it's all about. At least get an opinion, get an idea as to where you're at, gauge, put that thermometer in there. Where are you temperature wise? And then make a choice, make a decision after that.
Yeah,
Jennifer?
I agree. Even if it's not us and it's people, like, write down your wish list now. We're all in quarantine. Let's go. And when we come out of this, let's all be the people we really want to be and be safer and happier and more prosperous. So now's the time to do those things. We finally have the time to do all those things. So
Take advantage of the time.
That's right. That's right.
100%. Jennifer, thank you for being on the program.
Well, thank you for having me. I've had a good time.
It's rare that I find people as excited about entities and corporate structure as I get. So thank you.
You're welcome.
A little nerdy now, but I love it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I do.
All right, ladies and gents, that's all we got for you guys today. Peace. And we're out.